afternoon, Rotarians, friends, and guests. I'm Hannibal B. Johnson. It's my privilege as president of the Rotary Club of Tulsa to welcome you. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the fun, the festivities, and the fellowship that are the hallmarks of our weekly luncheons. On any given Wednesday at noon, just know that we'll be here with a special experience crafted just for you. All you have to do is show up and join in. If you haven't already done so, please take a moment to silence your cell phones now. Thank you. Let's begin our program with Song and Pledge from Vic Bailey, accompanied by Tom Wolfe, Invocation from Sarah Fry, and visitor introductions from Ed Monette.
It seems like every time I ask you all to sing this song, something happened that it's very appropriate. So today let's sing God Bless America, because we need it. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please pray with me. Dear God, thank you for this fellowship as we gather as Rotarians in service to our community and to one another. As the school year begins, for parents, students, teachers, and all those working in education, please bless them and make your presence known. Fill our teachers with the gift of great expectations, and fill our students with the wisdom of knowing that their education is so much more than memorizing data and taking tests, but it is the opportunity to become the person they want to be. Bless this food that it may nourish our bodies, and bless the hands that made it. We offer you thanks and praise now and always. Amen.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Rotary Club of Tulsa during this most wonderful time of the year, because if you'll look at your clock, watches, exactly 10 days from now, OU will be well on its way to its first victory. That's right, football season starts in 10 days. And for those of you that want to say OSU plays a couple days early, well, I'm talking real football starts in 10 days. So, as is our custom, I'm going to introduce our guests and their host Rotarians. If you'll briefly stand so that we may recognize you, we will hold our applause and greet you all in unison at the end. Rotarian Philip Viles has with him Meredith Fraley, Mays County Commissioner. Soon to be introduced again, Sheena Graywall has with her parents, Harleen and Raj Graywall. Rotarian Eddie Barkley has Stan Salih with the City of Collinsville, candidate for Tulsa County Commissioner. Rotarian Mac Finlayson has with him Judge Jim Caputo, District Court, City of Tulsa. Phil Viles again has a guest, Dana Murphy, Corporation Commissioner and candidate for Lieutenant Governor. Lucky Lamons has with him Troy Cups with St. John Health System. Cayenne Camus has Spencer Mitchell with the City of Tulsa. And past District Governor Don Dindos has with him Marilyn Garvin with J.D. Young. Let's give them all a rousing round of applause. And just as OSU did not appear in the top 25 preseason poll, we have no visiting Rotarians appearing here today. So thank you, and please come back.
Thank you, Vic, Tom, Sarah, and Ed. Once again, welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa, where Tulsa's finest business and community leaders come together to serve and to be the inspiration, both in our community and around the world. Let's thank all our meeting volunteers whose service makes our meetings run so smoothly each week. Thanks also to this week's meeting sponsors, Chenoweth & Cohen, Kara Gay Neal, Richard Properties, Bill Richard. We encourage you to give your fellow Rotarians the business, once again, literally. This week's Rotary inspiration is David Wagner. An anonymous Rotarian writes, and I quote, "David Wagner is the real deal. When you first get to know David, you experience a polite and inquisitive professional with boundless energy. These more noticeable traits, while fantastic, overshadow some of his best. David has a gift for empathy and a genuine desire to make the world a better place through acts of service extended to his fellow man in quiet ways that most often don't receive accolades. David whistles to himself. If you look it up in fancy scientific studies, whistling is a trait most often displayed by an individual possessing a positive nature at his or her core. David's boss once said of him, "David is one of those people that make me a better person." David is the first one in his office most days, and often before the sun is up. We're pretty sure he's whistling. So David, on behalf of the Rotary Club of Tulsa, please accept your Rotary International themed Be the Inspiration lapel pin for being our Rotary inspiration. Let's hear it for David. Please join us this coming Thursday, August the 23rd, from 5:30 to 7:30 for social networking at the Old Vine Fresh Grill in Brookside. This is a great opportunity to invite a prospective member. For more information, contact Lynette Potter. Now it's time for new member introductions. Today we introduce two new members to the Rotary Club, Sheena Graywall and Brady Wynn. Please welcome fellow Rotarian Dr. Jose Medina to present Sheena, followed by my presentation of Brady.
It's a pleasure for me to introduce Sheena Graywall, who is a very special person. She is a native from Tulsa, Oklahoma, from a family of doctors. Both parents are physicians, and the brother is my urologist. Sheena went to Georgetown University, where she studied literature. Subsequently, she went to the University of Massachusetts to study, let me read her, regional planning. Currently, she is the Senior Project Manager of Foam Swab Technologies. Sheena serves on the Board of Directors of the Oklahoma for Equality and is the chair of the Oklahoma Stonewall Democratic Federation. Sheena, I am honored that you are here with us. Thank you. You will receive the pin and the four-way test plaque. Welcome to Rotary. Thank you so much.
Our second new member is Brady Wynn. So Brady earned his Bachelor of Architectural Engineering degree from Oklahoma State University and a Master of Business Administration and Finance degree from Oklahoma City University. He's held positions of increasing responsibility in the insurance industry with Allstate Insurance and State Farm Insurance. He's a partner and president of Capital Insurance Partners, LLC, which is a nationally licensed insurance brokerage firm founded in 2011 and based here in Tulsa. The firm's The firm services commercial and residential clients with property and casualty insurance, workers' comp, general liability, auto, life, and health insurance. Brady, a member of the Independent Insurance Agents Association and a nationally licensed broker, is responsible for the organization's operations and support functions, including corporate planning and development. Fellow Rotarians, I proudly present new Rotarian Brady Wynn. And Brady, please accept your copy of the four-way test and your Rotary pin. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." That quote rings true for members of the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Service lies at the heart of who we are as Rotarians. We identify community needs, and we match those needs with resources, building relationships and solving problems all along the way. For over a century, our club's contributions to the Tulsa community and communities around the world have been significant. We've contributed millions of dollars to Tulsa area nonprofits, as well as supported numerous international projects. Since 2002, we've drilled over 550 water wells in Nicaragua, bringing this life source to thousands of people who don't have access to potable water. Please turn your attention to the screens for a short video about the Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation. So this is who, this is what, and this is us. The Rotary Club of Tulsa and the Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation are at your service here, there, and really just about everywhere. We can and we should be proud of this work and motivated to do even more. This time it's my privilege and pleasure to introduce our Sarge, my friend, Daniel Gomez. Daniel.
Thanks, Hannibal. Let's get right into it. I have a couple of corrections from last week. It's kind of embarrassing, but Tom Lukock, I'm pretty sure I wished him a happy birthday last week, and it turns out it was his Rotary anniversary, so sorry, Tom. This next one also, Ken Snoke, $166. I didn't get the breakdown till afterwards, but this is pretty big. Part of it is a 50th wedding anniversary was part of the breakdown, so congratulations, Ken. That's awesome. Roberta Preston, $50 for her Rotary anniversary. Congratulations, and thank you, Roberta. Matt Davis, happy birthday for August 30th, $63. He didn't say that's his age, but I don't know. You ask Matt. He did want me to post this picture with his friend Kevin Hearn, who's running for Senate, and he's been a visitor of ours. For Senate, yes. And then I noticed Matt has a TCU cooler there. I'm not sure why, but I happen to go to SMU, and I'm pretty sure we won that game in 2005. So Tim Caldwell was in the newspaper. He's paying $50 to the Rotary Men of Note. Bob Sade also gave another $50, so thank you, Bob, to publicize this. This is a great story. Tim Caldwell, he's working with a charity. It was called Rebuilding Tulsa, and it's now rebranding as Revitalize T-Town. They help low-income residents repair and remodel homes. And the milestone reached at the bottom. Over 21 years, they just did their 2,000th project. Wow. So thank you, Tim, and congratulations. And thank you, Bob. Del Dreyer tipped me off to this one and donated $100. This is Rotarian Richard Holmes and his wife, Lina. There was a story about the Route 66 Auto Museum in Sapulpa. It says that it's new, but I think it's actually been open for a while because the article says that they've had 7,000 visitors from 49 states and 70 foreign countries. They feature classic automobiles that are on loan from very famous collectors. It's a wonderful story. I think it was out just yesterday or the day before. So if you have a chance, read it. And thank you, Del. And congratulations, Richard and Lina. So I think Ed mentioned it. Everyone's excited for football season. Tina put together this quick video to get us all ready.
We set it off. Here we go. Red lights, I could never stop. A dreamer with the fever to be great was all I ever want, was all I ever wanted. A fighter with the fever for the fame was all I ever want, was all I ever wanted. Got me singing like bang bang, bang bang, bang bang. This fire's a weapon. Bang bang, bang bang, bang bang. Won't stop till we're legends. Won't stop till we're legends. Here we go. It's my turn to make history.
Well, thanks, Tina. So as we do every year, Tim and Barbara Knoll and We Be Trees have donated 2 OU tickets and 2 OSU tickets. They're for at a silent auction outside. I highly encourage anyone who's a fan of either school, go out there. They're great tickets, and the OSU ticket package actually comes with parking. So thank you, Tim and Barbara. Let's bid big. Football season's upon us. I think I told you last week that I would reveal, for those who don't know, where my allegiance lies. This is me as a member of the OSU marching band, so I am a proud OSU alum. This was back in 2000, so. That was when Bob Simmons was coaching. We went 3-7, so I'm no bandwagon fan here. But to be show I can be fair, I happened to meet Barry Switzer recently. So here's a picture of me and Barry, one of the biggest personalities I've ever met. I am also a Dallas Cowboys fan, so he let me try on his Super Bowl ring. Almost broke my finger, but it was pretty cool. So my birthday is this Friday. So I'm finding myself $50 and to put up one of my favorite football smacks here. It's the OU band flow chart. It says, did something happen? Yes, something happened. So you play Boomer Sooner. Did something happen? Nothing happened. They still play Boomer Sooner every time. Well, I'm glad I got some mic time to counter Ed over here. But again, please bid on those tickets. Thank you, Tim and Barbara. Let's raise some money. Let's enjoy some football season. Thanks, guys.
Great. Thanks, Daniel. Next up is our Vocational Minute, presented today by Chuck Wilson. Chuck.
Thank you. Well, vocational service, as you know, is a pillar of Rotary. And each week, as he did today, our president said, give Rotarians the business, literally. I have had the pleasure of doing business with many of you and you with me, and I appreciate that. I have been a mortgage banker for 22 years. It's been pretty exciting, particularly the last 10 years. But I'm with a company called Associated Mortgage Corporation, AMC. It's a Tulsa-based company, started 27 years ago. We're building a brand new building at 73rd and Yale. We're looking forward to being in that in the month of October, I believe, is when we're going to be ready. So that's going to be a special event for us. But I also want to tell you why I'm here before you as well as others. And that's because we are sponsors of Rotary. And so I encourage you, if you would like to stand up before this group and tell about your company, you may do so by being a sponsor. For as little as $100 a quarter, you can be a sponsor of Rotary. And Lynette Potter, Lynette, will you stand, please? Lynette is the head of that committee, so if you have any questions about sponsorships, please let her know. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chuck. Our Rotarian of the day is past President Mike Homan. Mike joined Rotary in 1991. He's a Paul Harris Fellow and a Club Foundation Fellow. Mike is Vice President and Office Manager at Terracon Consultants, Inc. Beyond that, Mike is just an exceptional human being whom I'm proud to call a friend. Please welcome past President Mike Homan.
In June of last year, Governor Mary Fallin appointed Mike Patterson Secretary of Transportation for the state of Oklahoma. Mike also serves as Executive Director of the Oklahoma Department of Transportation, a role he has filled since 2013. Prior to that appointment, he served as a Deputy Director for ODOT for 3 years, while also serving as the Chief Financial Officer for ODOT. And Mike previously served as a comptroller for the agency for 15 years, having begun his career with ODOT as a deputy comptroller in 1980. Mike has been active with the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials for many years, serving in several leadership roles. He currently serves as the chairman of the Standing Committee on Administration. And Mike is a founding member of the Oklahoma chapter of the international organization Women in Transportation. Now, Mike earned his Bachelor of Science degree in accounting from Central State University, which is now known as the University of Central Oklahoma, back in 1976. And then he earned a Master's of Business Administration and Finance from the University of Central Oklahoma in 1993. Mike and his wife Joy live in Edmond and have 2 daughters and 5 granddaughters, so he's surrounded by strong women. And on a personal note, I have the opportunity through my profession to work with Mike and the good folks at ODOT, and I just have to say it's truly inspiring to work with a group of people that show up for work every day, roll up their shirt sleeves, and figure out a way to make maximum use of the funds that are available for them to not only build but to maintain our transportation infrastructure. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming to the podium Secretary of Transportation Mike Patterson.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the brevity of that introduction. Sometimes my assistant Tammy sends the book, and we have to talk about that when I get back to the office. Thank you all for having ODOT and transportation here today. It's always a pleasure to be in the room with servant leaders like yourself. When you look at what you guys have accomplished for the many years the Rotarians have been in Tulsa, it's amazing. You can talk about books for elementary schools, and that's great, but water, drilling wells, you're saving lives. You're not just making a difference, you're saving lives. And for that, we must commend you and offer our appreciation. As we went around the room and introduce people, I need to introduce a couple of people. Randall White is our division engineer here for Northeast Oklahoma, and I know Randall has spoken to this group before, so if you got any complaints about potholes, he's your man. If you want to talk about how good everything is, I'm your guy. But no, seriously, Randall and I know we don't have a lot of time here, but Randall and I will be here to answer any questions we might not get to before you guys got to go back to work at 1 o'clock. So we'll stay here and answer any questions you have. Also with us is Tara Moore. She takes care of policy and all those kinds of things. In other words, she sets the rules that Randall and I have to follow. So we have to be nice to Tara, or she'll make a rule that doesn't work out well for us. In your introductions, county commissioners, former state representatives, good to see you, Representative Lemons. But I want to point out Cayenne. Cayenne and I have been out looking in the middle of pastures how we can bring business to Oklahoma. Nobody works harder on economic development than Cayenne. She has drugged me all over Tulsa County, parts of Rogers County, Wagner County, looking for a place for a business to land and how we can help with the transportation. And I know she still works on that. So nobody does it harder than Cayenne. Let's talk about transportation in Oklahoma. I know we've got just a short time. And our transportation system in Oklahoma is the 17th largest in the country. I want you to make note of those two states we're sandwiched between. That's California and Florida. California and Florida. Our population is 28th in the country between Oregon and Connecticut. That's kind of imbalanced, when you're talking about such a large transportation system between California and Florida and a relatively low population. So how does all that balance out? Someday, and I know who it is, but I won't necessarily divulge her name, but wouldn't it be great to have the smallest and the largest population so that you get all this tax revenue and things are working out a little better than we've experienced in the last 30 years or so. Highway funding, of course, you may remember we just raised our fuel tax to 20 and 20. Before that, it was 17 and 14, 17 cents gas and 14 cents on diesel fuel. That 17 and 14 put us 49th in the country in fuel tax rate, with Alaska being the only state that had a lower fuel tax than us. Had an occasion to sit with the Alaskan governor about 14 months ago now, and and the legislature had just gone through a notion of increasing our fuel tax, and he tried to get a fuel tax increase passed in Alaska, and it didn't pan out with their legislature either. And he said, man, I was hoping you'd get yours so I could use you as the model for how to do this. And I said the same. Well, I know Governor Fallon's trying to want you to go first, and we ended up going first. They still haven't got theirs. We also have a state motor vehicle taxes and fees. There's been a recent change in that, marginally, but it is still very low in terms of the amount that transportation receives. 0.3%. Not 3%, but 0.3% comes to the Department of Transportation. So that equates to about $2 million a year. State income tax. This is where, and what has become the primary revenue source for the Department of Transportation is state income tax. It's a portion of it, and this is the year in which it maxes out. It has been increasing each year since 2005. That first year in 2005, we got an additional $15 million. Not very much. This year, we're going to receive of income tax $575 million. Now, the thing we loved about that, was that if you would have just dropped $1 billion on us, we didn't have plans ready. We didn't have the planning and all the environmental stuff ready. So having incremental increases to now that we've gotten up to the 575 to go with the approximate $200 million in fuel tax, we've been able to develop our 8-year plans over the years, do our environmental process, get our plans in place, that now it's hard to go anywhere in the state of Oklahoma that you don't go through a construction work zone. By a show of hands, who didn't go through a work zone today? Randall did not. Anybody else? Randall, turn around. That guy's got his hands up. He needs a work zone by the time he goes home. We didn't mean for that to happen because progress comes with those work zones. And because you supported your legislature when they made the decision to provide additional funding to the Department of Transportation, we've been able to make the changes that we have. Without that, we wouldn't have a new bridge over the Arkansas River on I-244. We would not have rebuilt I-244 from downtown out east. We would not be working on the Broken Arrow Expressway. We could not have done that. Prior to 2005, we were totally supported by the federal government. 100% of our funding for the 8-year plan was federal funds. Speaking of federal funds, our federal fuel tax has remained the same for 30 years. 18.4 on gasoline and 24.4 on diesel. I want to talk about fuel tax a little bit more in a bit, but I want to hurry through this. As we have increased funding at the Department of Transportation, we actually have fewer employees today than we did in 2005. When I went to work for the department in 1980, we had over 3,500 employees. Today we have about 2,300 employees. And it's because we've been able to embrace technology, which made us leaner and meaner. We've been able to use the private sector with companies like Mike's. So we have outsourced some of our operations, and rightfully so that we can stay steady about where we need to be, take care of our maintenance, some of our design. But we want to outsource. We want to engage the private sector, so that when you look at this graph, or this pie chart, you can see roughly 85% of our money goes to capital programs. I think that's where you intended it to go. Structurally deficient bridges. our number one performance measure at the Department of Transportation. Back in 2004 and 5, we had 17% of the bridges on our highway system were structurally deficient. 1,168 of the 6,800 bridges on the system were structurally deficient. Not a good situation. At that same time, 123 of our bridges were load posted. That means they could not carry a legally loaded truck. And of those, several of those were load rated at 15 tons or less. So that means that a fully loaded school bus could not go over some of the bridges on our highway system. This became our number one performance measure. We are to be, as directed by ourselves, the state legislature, and 3 governors, at less than 1% by 2020. That means of our 6,800 bridges, we have to have structurally deficient at less than 68, and we will make that. As you can see by this graph, our last official number was 185. We're about 170. We took one off this morning. One of our most egregious bridges came off the system this morning and has now been replaced, and it's the Lexington-Purcell Bridge. It's a long, tall bridge between the communities of Lexington and Purcell. We closed it 2 years ago because of substantial cracks in many of the steel beams. We got those repaired, but it was still load posted, and now it's been replaced. So it's a great day at ODOT. We're extremely happy about that. All that being said, we have a lot of work to be done. We have a lot of, as you can tell by this map, steep hills and sharp curves. So sight distance issues. You come around the hill or come around the corner, come over the hill, there's a school bus stopped, or something else is in the road and presents a problem. Not long ago on State Highway 84, not long ago being in March, if you're familiar with that, no reason that you would be, but between Walika and Dustin, now that's south of Okemah, if anybody's been on I-40, around Henrietta, those places. State Highway 84 is red there for 2 reasons: sharp curves and steep hills. Back in March, Cindy and Eric Norton were traveling from Walika to their home in Dustin, and their 2 sons were in the back seat. I believe they were 15 and 13. Their car broke down. There was no place, no shoulder for them to get off of, and the driveway, the next drive was on down the road. So the men of the family got out, Cindy got in front of the wheel, and began pushing the car down the road. And around the corner and over the hill came a semi. The boys jumped out of the way. Their parents perished. That's not a situation that I want repeated in the state of Oklahoma. We have to be able to do better than that. At our current funding pace, with the many things that we have to take care of, with these kinds of issues, congestion, just regular maintenance, it'll take us nearly 100 years to fix this problem. We can't wait that long. So we're going to have to come up with some solutions. That's a challenge for us. Here's our 2-lane highways with no shoulders. Again, Walika to Dustin is on here, State Highway 84, but you guys drive these roads. We're experiencing now unprecedented. I read the newspaper, as I do every day, looking for fatalities. How many times are we now seeing that people are dropping their wheel off the edge line and either overcorrecting into the other lane of traffic for a head-on collision or rolling into the ditch. Now, I don't know why they're dropping the wheel off the edge line. I don't know. Maybe it's a texting, maybe it's some other inattentive something, or maybe it just happens. But we've got to do better. The Department of Transportation needs to do better. This is the revenue shortfalls that we've experienced in an effort to balance the state budget since 2010. First year, the department gave up $15 million to help balance the state budget. The reason Randall, Tara, and I like to look at this is, and I have not put on the 2019 shortfall that we're going through. It's down, so we're extremely happy. We're going to have more funding available to fix some of this stuff. We were cut $40 million for this budget cycle that we're in now. But imagine what we could have done with $880 million since 2010. What the Turnpike Authority is doing now, and we'll talk more about the Turnpike Authority in a little bit, the widening on the Turner, the stuff they're doing around Oklahoma City, and the many other improvements they're making as part of driving forward is about $900 million. So think about all that they're doing and what we might have been able to do with our 880. Quick picture, I hope I got the right one. Tara, is the arrow on that one? Okay, I can't see it from here. If you look at this picture, this is a picture from 1900, Times Square, Easter Sunday. And if you can see the red arrow, which I can't, but if you can see the red arrow, it's pointing at the only motorized vehicle on the street. You guys see that? 1900. Easter Sunday, Times Square. 13 years later, 1913. Same location, Easter Sunday. There's one horse-drawn buggy in that picture depicted by the arrow. In a short 13-year period, the whole mode of transportation, the evolution of transportation changed. Think about what changed in that period right there. All of a sudden we have personal injury attorneys. The guy scooping the poop lost his job. We have automobile mechanics. The list goes on, but you can see how our culture changed, evolved, an evolutionary period. I like to think of this, and I know if you go back to ancient Rome, there were other really big changing times. 13 years, remember that. This is a map of the interstate system in 1970. Now, there's more interstates on the system today, but this is 1970. Remember that President Eisenhower signed the legislation that created the interstate system in 1956. So construction probably started 57, 58, and we had this in place in 1970, 12 to 13 years later. Quite an evolution in transportation. How did that change our lives? The movement of commerce, people, more efficient, safe transportation. Looking at this map, you can see I-44 on there. You see it from Oklahoma City to Tulsa. It was there before 1956 because it was the Turner Turnpike. And if you think about that bit of history, I don't talk about this except when I'm in Tulsa, think about or Oklahoma City. If you think about that bit of history, you know, people are coming back from World War II and they want safe, effective, efficient transportation between Oklahoma City and Tulsa. People have been to Germany, seen the Autobahn, seen some other things. We could build that. I know how this played out. They came to the Department of Transportation, then the Department of Highways, and said, we want to build one of those. And we said, we got no money. So the Turnpike Authority was created. And that's how it got built. It's not a bad thing. I mean, since then, many states in the country are emulating exactly what Oklahoma did. We were the first Turnpike Authority west of the Mississippi. And now they're in 35 other states. So it's just a form of financing and funding transportation. We continue that today. What we can't handle financially, I phone a friend. I call the director of the Turnpike Authority and say, what can you do? And in some cases they can, and in some cases they can't. So 13 years later, I kind of got off track. So one of the challenges, went too far? We're working with today, future considerations, is autonomous vehicles, connected vehicles, vehicle-to-vehicle communication, vehicle-to-infrastructure communication, and electric vehicles. These are the kinds of things that we're thinking about today. Who all thinks that autonomous vehicles are here today? We got some hands. Okay, so I'm going to try this again. I know I'm running out of time, Mike, so let me try this. So, wait a minute. Does anybody own a Tesla? Anybody own a Tesla? I just want to touch one. I thought maybe there might be one in the parking lot. Okay, so there's no Teslas in the parking lot. Okay, so how many of you have a vehicle that as you drive down the road and the car in front of you slows down, your car slows down by itself? You don't have to touch a brake. Okay, several hands. Very good. How many of you, as you cross the stripe, it might warn you somehow by flashing light or seat vibrates or something like that? You got those? Several of you have those. I want one of those. So I'm going to suggest to you that we're in the midst of transitioning to autonomous vehicles. It ain't ever going to come. It's when it's going to come, and you are in it right now. You're in this period of transition. Just like the folks in New York City transitioned from horse and buggy to automobile, we transitioned to 2-lane Route 66 to 4-lane I-40 and I-44. You're in the process. And the further we go, the more you like it and the more you demand that your vehicles do these kinds of things. It's going to provide safety, and personal injury attorneys, I don't know. So we have those automated vehicles, autonomous vehicles. We don't say driverless cars. Nobody likes driverless. Connected vehicles, I'm almost out of time. Mike's looking at me. Connected vehicles, those are where trucks are talking to each other, and the lead truck is controlling the speed and braking of the second truck. They can run close to each other so that they save money, and it's safer. From our perspective, it's safer. It saves the trucking industry money. Interesting enough, we're involved on I-40. Tennessee, Arkansas, Texas are allowing connected trucks. We don't. There's companies in Oklahoma City that run down to Dallas on a daily basis. Texas allows it. We don't. So the legislature will likely have to take up the notion of that in the coming session. Vehicle communication where my car is going to talk to yours, and I'm going to tell you I'm right here, so don't come over here. Vehicle to infrastructure where the signals will talk to your car, and where your car's slowing down because the car in front of you slowed down, it's going to slow down because the light is telling your car, I'm getting ready to turn red. So you might as well just start slowing down now. Okay? So no more running red lights, right? Yeah, so we're going to save money. We're going to save money for tickets. Electric vehicles, real quick. In the last 5 years, the number of electric vehicles in the world has increased 1,000%. Many manufacturers are already saying they're going to go electric. They're reducing the number of internal combustion engines. Now, how does that impact transportation? We're ready for electric vehicles, you know. All we got to do is figure out how to make sure that they can get charged up, because we don't want them laying on the side of the road. But where that affects us is fuel tax. We've got to come up with another way to fund transportation. Some states have come up with a vehicle fee, annual vehicle fee, as an example, for electric vehicles in lieu of fuel tax. But right now, in Oklahoma and nationally, there is no charge to drive on an Oklahoma highway unless you're paying a good toll. Now, all of this is part of a discussion we're having at the department with our Driving Oklahoma effort, where I put together a group of people that are talking about the future of transportation. And I know here in Tulsa you have a similar kind of deal, because I'm part of that program too, where we're talking about how mobility in the city of Tulsa is going to happen as we move toward autonomous and connected vehicles. So if I know I'm out of time to go to work, you guys got to make some money to pay for all this. So if you have any questions, if Mike says we can take some, we'll take them. If not, as I said, Randall and I will be here happy to answer any questions you have about all of the highways that he has closed and shut down in the city of Tulsa. While I'll take the accolades, he'll take the blame. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mike, for an interesting presentation. And again, Mike will stick around a little bit after the meeting if you have questions that you want to pose to him individually. A book recognizing today's program will be presented to our Rotary Partner in Education School, which is Celia Clinton Elementary School. And this week's book is called A Day with the Animal Mechanics. That's our book to Celia Clinton. Upcoming programs on August the 29th, which is next week, Danny O'Connor and the Outsiders House will be the presentation. September 5th, E.J. Oppenheimer with Permaculture will be the featured presentation. Thank you for being here, and let's not lose sight of that grand Rotary International vision. Together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Also, please note that our new members and their sponsors will be at the guest table area in the foyer as you exit, so please take a moment to personally welcome Sheena Graywall and Brady Wynn to our Rotary Club family. We are adjourned.